Welcome to the John Freakin' Muir Pod. Lace up those boots and sling on the pack for a romp through trails, short and long. With your host and Renaissance man, Doc. It's time to embrace the suck.
Welcome back to another week on the trail. I'm Doc, and this is the John Freakin' Muir Pod. Let's start off with a reminder. If you are enjoying the podcast, take just a minute, help us out, leave us a review on Apple Podcasts. And if you're not enjoying the pod, well, just go ahead and keep that to yourself. All right, let's get to this week's guest. Joining us this week is two-time Appalachian Trail thru hiker, one of which was very different from traditional AT hikes. It is my pleasure to welcome to the pod, Mountain Cat. Welcome to the pod.
Hey, thanks for having me.
I'm really excited that you're here because I really want to explore this unusual version of the AT that you have, but we're going to leave that for a later segment. So
okay.
Hold on to those thoughts.
All right. I got a lot to say about it.
Okay. Very good. Now, on the pod here, we go strictly by trail names. So I'm pretty sure that Mountain Cat is your trail name. Is that correct?
It is, yes.
Okay. And we have to know the story behind the name.
Yeah. Okay. Well, the first time I did the AT was in 2018, and I started March 8th. And so I was kind of like in the NOBO bubble, like right off the bat. So as soon as I got up to Springer, there was like an older man up there. Well, there was a bunch of people up there at Springer, and I'm like a super unsociable person, honestly. So I saw everyone as soon as I got up there, and I just kind of like retreated back into the woods and waited until everyone left. And so an old man that was up there saw me again a few days later, and I was doing the same thing. Like I would just avoid everyone and go sit in the sun by myself. So he kind of gave it to me because I'm unsociable and I like laying in the sun like a cat. So
Very good. A solitary predator, Mountain Cat.
Yeah, that's me.
Very good. Now, I don't think I ever shared with you how I reached out to you or why I reached out to you, who gave me the tip. Did I ever tell you that?
No.
So I had the great pleasure of interviewing and talking to Nasty Noodle.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, and he said, "Oh, you have to talk to Mountain Cat because what she did was just crazy, and it might give folks a different perspective on long trail hiking." So Nasty Noodle, he threw you out there, and I reached out just cold, and you got right back to me. So thank you.
Is he's on the CDT now or something?
Yes, I think I just saw something where he is
cool.
on the CDT. Right.
Yeah, awesome.
All right. Hey, Mountain Cat, have you had a chance to listen to the podcast before?
Yeah, I did. I went through, and because my boyfriend Cobra, he really likes Jupiter, so we both went back and listened to Jupiter's episode.
Yeah, he was a lot of fun to talk to. He's a great guy.
Yeah, we love his videos too.
Yeah.
Cool.
Very talented, very talented. Hey, the only reason I ask is I want to make sure that you have an idea that at the end of the episode, we have a regular segment called the Pro Tip Insight of the Week. And so what that is I'm going to turn to you at that point and say, Mountain Cat, what's your pro tip insight of the week? What can you share with our listeners? What little piece of wisdom that's going to make their next outdoor adventure even better? So don't be surprised when we get to that.
Okay, I won't.
Okay. And you being a two-time AT hiker, I am really interested to talk gear with you. And we've got another regular feature called the Must Bring Gear Review. Okay. And here's how it works. If you were to let a stranger pack your bag with pretty much generic gear for a multi-day hike, what is the one specific piece of gear you would insist on being packed? And if you've got a particular brand for that specific piece of gear, even better. So Mountain Cat, what's your must-bring piece of gear?
I would have to say, if I could only pick one thing, it would probably be my Enlightened equipment. I have the Convert, so it's the one that zips the whole way down and opens up into a blanket, and it's a 0 degree, and I carried that from July, like the whole way through the winter. I don't care if it's like summer. I love having my 0 degree because I sleep so cold. So that's probably definitely the one thing I would pick to pack.
Okay, so it's a quilt?
Yeah, it's a quilt, but it has a zipper the whole way, so you can unzip it the whole way. Like some of theirs has the sewn in like toe box or foot box or whatever.
Right.
So this one unzips the whole way, and then you can just cinch it at the bottom, like to close it in. So when it's hot out, I just like use it as a blanket, or I cover me and my dog up with it. I love it so much.
Okay, did you do the AT with your dog?
Yeah, he did 1,200 miles on my SOBO.
Okay, and what kind of dog is he?
He's a Bernese Mountain Dog.
Oh, okay.
Big boy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And what is his name?
His name's Sawyer, and his trail name is Poodle Bear.
So dogs have trail names too. Very
Yeah,
good.
but we gave it to him. Yeah. And
Well, he couldn't.
in the hiker yearbook this year, so.
Well, Poodle Bear couldn't give himself his own trail name.
Yeah,
That's not acceptable. So
yeah.
very good.
Yeah.
All right. Hey, before we move on from gear, what is your base weight?
I honestly don't even know. I didn't weigh it once this whole trip. I think in 2018 it was around 11 or 12, but this time in the summer it was probably pretty light because I switched out a lot of my stuff to newer stuff. But then for winter, I don't even know. It was probably close to 20 maybe.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, you had a very different trip, so you had to pack accordingly.
Yeah, I had a lot of stuff.
Okay, during your summer trip, what kinds of gear did you have, and what was your sleep system? What was your shelter like?
So we started out in the summer. We had the duplex, the Z-Packs duplex, which I didn't like it at first, but now I love it, and it's my favorite tent because I just wasn't used to setting up like a trekking pole tent. So trying to get used to that was kind of like irritating, but once you figure out how to set it up like really good in any spot, it's such a nice tent. It's huge, like compared to like other 2-person tents.
Yeah,
so
what would you say? Because you said you were frustrated at first by using that. It's different than a regular tent. Are there any tips or tricks you can share that kind of made you say, this is how it works, and this is why I like it now?
I think I got better at it when I learned, because I would stake out the 4 corners first and then put the trekking poles in, because like that's what it tells you. But then after I have the trekking poles up, I'll go back around and readjust all 4 stakes. I wasn't doing that at first, so it was just always like lopsided. But when I went back around and would pull those out a little bit and like readjust it after I already had it set up, it helped a lot. So
got it.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah,
And we heard about your quilt. You have a sleeping pad?
Yep. In the summer, this time I only used that 1/8 inch pad from Gossamer Gear. I went like hardcore. I don't normally do that, but it honestly wasn't that bad, because when you pick a campsite that's not like hard or rocky or rooty, like it's not that bad. I got used to it within like 3 days, and I actually thought it was pretty comfortable. So
okay, yeah, 1/8 of an inch, that's pretty thin.
I know. I tell people that, like I told my friend yard sale that, and she was like, what, why? I'm like, I don't know. So then that became Sawyer's sleeping pad. And then once we got him, because we picked him up, my mom brought him up in Vermont, and so I used that for him then, and then I just used my Neo Air.
Got it.
Yeah.
And how about footwear? Are you trail runners or boots or something else?
Trail runners. Well, trail runners for summer. I had Ultra Lone Peaks. I think the 4.5s. Yeah. And then winter I switched to boots, but that took me forever to figure out what kind of boot I liked and all that. So
what did you settle in on?
I tried the Ultra, the mids, the Gore-Tex ones, because I heard a lot of good stuff about them, but they destroyed my heels. I only had them for like 30 miles. So I don't know if I should have got like a half size bigger, but After that, I did the Solomon. They're men's. I think they're called Ultra, like ULTRA, 3, Ultra 3, I think. And at first I didn't like them at all, but after I got them broken in, like they're actually a really good boot, and they worked for me through the rest of the winter then.
Okay.
Yeah.
Very good. Now, before we get into the nitty gritty of your hikes, let's back up a little bit. Let's talk about your background, where you grew up, what kinds of hobbies and sports you were involved in, and how you got involved in the thru hiking cult, because that's what it is. It's a cult.
Yeah. Definitely is. Yeah, so I grew up here in Pennsylvania. I was always like an outdoorsy kid. My family is really outdoorsy, so I've always been fishing and hunting with my pap. And then my family started camping when I was really little, so we've always been like a car camping family mostly. We never went backpacking, and actually my first time backpacking was when I started the AT the first time, so I'd
Wow.
never gone before. Yeah, so yeah, I always liked hiking and everything. And sometime in high school, I never did any sports or anything. Like, I don't like organized sports. I don't like people telling me what to do or like team playing. So I never really did any sports. I hated school. I never showed up to school. But in high school, I just kept thinking like that someday I wanted to do the Appalachian Trail. And I don't even know where I got that idea, but I thought about it since I was in like 10th or 11th grade. So I told myself I was going to do it when I graduated high school, and then I decided to go to nursing school, and I went for 2 years to nursing school. Said I was going to do it then after I got my RN, and then I decided to go back to school for my bachelor's. And then at that point, like, I was not, after I graduated for my bachelor's, I wasn't like in a good spot mentally, and I was doing a lot of drinking and going out late nights, and I was like, I think I'm just gonna go for it because I needed something different. I definitely needed a change, and it was like the best decision I ever made. So
Okay, and I want to go back to that moment of when you decided you're going to go for it. But before we do, I want to ask just a couple of questions. So my daughter's an RN. She got her RN and her BSN, and she is in labor and delivery. And so I wanted to ask what specialty you're in. What
yeah,
type of nursing?
so I started in home health. Actually, I've pretty much always been in home health. But I did home health directly for 3 or 4 years. And then now I actually work from home, reviewing. I'm a QA RN, so I review other home health nurses' charts and QA everything and go through those.
And QA stands for quality assurance?
Yeah.
Got it.
Yep. I like it a lot. It gives me a lot of freedom. Like, as long as I have Wi-Fi, I can work. So that's the main thing.
How is the Wi-Fi in Pennsylvania?
It's good. Yeah.
All right. So let's get back to that moment where you said, you know what? I think I'm going to go for it. This is the moment of truth. How long before that decision and actually setting off on the trail in 2018?
I decided I'd gone on a vacation up to the Adirondacks, and I was just laying there. Like, the cabin that we stay in has no service, and I love that because I would just hang out for like a week or two and just like read and like think and stuff. And I remember I was laying in my hammock up there, and I was like, I'm just gonna do it like this year or this coming year. So that was in August or September, and then I started in March of the next spring.
Got it. And I think you said before that this was your first overnight backpacking experience is the AT 2018?
Yeah, I had meant to get out and like test my gear, like they say to do. And I think, well, my boyfriend at the time was very unsupportive. He would not talk about the fact that like I was leaving. Like, he would not talk about the fact that like when my gear would be delivered, like he would just like turn another eye. Like, he was very unsupportive. So I didn't really have anyone to go with. which didn't stop me from starting the trail, but I don't know. I was just like, I'll just go, I guess, and then test it out on the trail. So.
Wow. But this is not your only experience. You've done some car camping. You did
Yeah,
some other like day hiking in other parts of the country.
Day hiking. Yeah. We, my family has always been really into traveling, so I've been really lucky. So, we've done a lot of travel out west, like Utah, Yosemite, Yellowstone, Grand Canyon, everything like that. So we've done a lot of day hikes out there. And now looking back, I'm like, oh my gosh, there's so much good backpacking out there. I got to get back out there.
Yeah. What are your memories of Sequoia and Yosemite?
Oh my goodness. Well, my favorite memory of Yosemite, is it the Merced River? I think I went there and went swimming, and like I was the only person there, and it was amazing. Like, cause around here in PA, like it's hard to find a spot to swim that there's not like crowds of people, and we already know I don't like crowds, so that was like a great memory. I'm like, I had this like whole section of river to myself, and it was so clear, and it was just amazing.
It wasn't at the top of the falls, was it?
No.
That might have been why you're the only person in the river.
Yeah. I go over it. No.
You know, they have all kinds of signs at the top of Yosemite Falls saying "Don't swim in the river." Like that's something you'd have to tell people, but literally, like, you know, once a year someone goes over, so it's crazy.
Oh my goodness, that's awful.
All right, and then also Yellowstone and the Grand Tetons.
Yeah. I did a lot of hiking in Yellowstone. Went and saw all the like thermal pools and everything like that. I would love to go back there too, and like, cause we stayed at like Old Faithful Lodge, and like we mostly did like the lodge thing. So I'd love to go back and like backpack and car camp there too.
Yeah, there's some big animals in Yellowstone.
Yeah. Some big buffalo.
Well, moose and grizzly.
I was gonna say I'd love to see a grizzly from a distance.
Yes, there you go, from a distance. And then you also did some time in the Grand Canyon in Utah, you said?
Yeah, we did a lot of we did like Canyonland, Zion. We did like the big loop out there, and Grand Canyon. Grand Canyon was amazing. Like, it sounds like a cliche, but it was like amazing. View is beautiful, and I would love to do like a rim to rim someday there. That'd be cool. And I just I don't know if you follow Rocket, Julia Sheehan. She just finished the Arizona Trail, and seeing her finish up like at the Grand Canyon was amazing. Like, she had the best views.
All right, I'm gonna reach out to her, see if she wants to come on and talk about it. I'm gonna drop your name.
She's a fellow Pennsylvania girl.
Okay. All right. Very good. We've had a few people on the podcast here that have been to the Grand Canyon, and one particular who was a Grand Canyon expert, and they just rave about it. And I have not yet been to the Grand Canyon, even though I live in the Southwest. I have not made it to the Grand Canyon. My mom who's listening, she will argue that yes, I was there, but I will argue back that I was probably 2, and I don't remember it. So
it doesn't count.
No, it doesn't count. But it sounds like an epic place for hiking. So I'll have to give that a shot.
Definitely.
All right. So let's talk about your 2018 AT hike. You decide in August or September, and your boyfriend at the time is unsupportive. What does the rest of your family think about this, about their daughter going out solo to hike 2,200 miles?
It took them a while to get used to it, but they knew because I always talked about it in high school, they knew for years that like I was eventually going to go do it. I just don't know if they knew that I actually would do it. So when I told them, I think like my grandma made me take self-defense classes. So I did that. But they were ultimately really supportive, and right before I left, they threw me a big surprise going away party. So, and all my friends and family came, so it was really good. And my mom and my grandma are like my 2 biggest supporters ever, trail wise. They send resupply packages, they come stay in Airbnbs, they pick us up like 6 times. So they've really definitely gotten used to the idea after I was out there, definitely.
Now, how much did you know about the AT? How much research did you do, and what were you expecting when you started the hike?
I did a good bit of research. Well, mostly just about gear. And I read that you shouldn't expect anything, so I tried not to expect anything. And I just thought about trying to see how far I would make it. And once I was out there, I was like, there's no way anything could get me off this trail. So it was yeah, I would say the most thing I researched was my gear, which was good because it all ended up working out even though I never tested any of it. So
very good. Very
yeah.
good. And so I know you talked about maybe reaching a low point, or kind of being, I don't know, maybe frustrated with where you were, with staying out late and partying and so what was the goal of getting on the AT? How was this going to change Mountain Cat?
I don't think I knew at the time. I just knew I needed a change of like scenery. I needed something to get myself out of the situations I was in, and like felt like I needed something drastic, or else I would probably just go back to it. So I don't obviously when I was out there, like everyone else, you just like figure out that's like through hiking is like a huge part of your life now, and like you figure out how to work your life into it. So while I was out there, I figured out, I'm like, why am I not happy? And it was mostly because I didn't have any freedom, or as much freedom as I wanted, both in my like relationship and my job, going to school. I've always hated school, and then I forced myself to go another 4 years. And so while I was out there, I was like, the thing that makes me not happy and makes me like do these things that I don't like is the lack of freedom. So ever since then, I just focus on that, and it really changed my life.
That's fantastic.
Yeah.
We often hear on this podcast about the transformational power of the long trail, or of nature just in general, that you're just better off having had that experience. And
Yeah, definitely.
When you're out on a long trail, especially, there's a lot of time to think.
Oh yeah, nothing but time.
And so you really wrestle with some issues out there and learn a lot about yourself.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, that was a big thing. Like you said, having so much time. I remember the first part of the trail, like probably up until Southern Virginia, like I was focused more because I made a lot of new friends. Like I had a trail family. So we would hike together and camp together, and they were like a huge part of my hike. But I know around Southern Virginia is when I started to like hike by myself during the day a lot, and like start thinking, like you said, like all you have is time to think. So that was when I really started like thinking about what made me happy and why I was out there and everything. So
okay. And how long before you met up with this trail family? You start out at Springer, and
yeah, started as Springer. So my current boyfriend that I have now, I met in 2018 on the AT. He started a day before me.
And this is Cobra. This is Cobra.
Yeah, Cobra. Yeah.
Does he have a story behind his trail name?
He does not. He has always been Cobra. His family, because his name's Kyle, so he's Cobra Kai. So he brought that onto the trail. Yeah.
Okay. Sorry, I interrupted. Continue with your story.
Well, he started a day before me. And he had already made a few friends. So I met my friend Nope, who was a girl that I hiked with in my trail family. I met her day 2 at like Hawk Mountain, and we ended up seeing each other again after Neil Gap, and she was like, oh, we should hike together. And I was like, yeah, like I loved her. She was like the total opposite of me. She's so outgoing and happy, and like, so whenever we would see people, I would always make her talk to them so that I wouldn't have to. But
I don't necessarily get that from her trail name though. Nope.
Leslie Nope. from Parks and Rec.
Nope. Nope.
That's
Yeah. Nope with a K. Got it. Okay.
exactly. Yeah. So we started hiking together, and right after leaving Neal's Gap, I think it was the next day, we were sitting along the trail, and this ridge runner came up, and we were like, "Hey, is there any room up at the next shelter for us to stay in?" She's like, "I'm not sure. There was this group of guys. They call themselves the Florida Boys, and I think they were gonna go in there." And we were like, "Oh my God, the Florida Boys! They sound awful." And we ended up being best friends with them. Like, they were our trail family then. So that was Sparky. Cobra was a Florida boy. Sparky, he was hiking with him. Our friend Cold Dude, Free Spirit. So yeah, we were with them for a long time. Also, a German guy named Johnny Cash. He was with us for a while. So, and then we had
German Johnny Cash.
German Johnny Cash. Yeah, he wore all black, so his name was Johnny Cash. Yeah. So, and then some of them had to go home because of injuries. So that was real sad. But we ended up having like a kind of second trail family. It was me, Nope, Cobra, Yard Sale. I don't know if you know her, Ashley Manning. You should talk to her too. She is hilarious. Okay. Yeah. And Sparky and Bunny, Paul Bunyan. So yeah, so that was like our second trail family, and we're still super close. Like we got to see everyone on our second AT through hike, that everyone came out to see us, so that was really good.
Very good.
Yeah.
Now, what advice would you have for a hiker who maybe has not done any kind of extensive backpacking experience, but they are just in love with the idea of the long trail and are considering doing it, but they've got these doubts as to whether or not they can? What kind of advice, having been in that experience yourself, that situation yourself, what advice would you give them?
I would definitely, depending on what trail you're doing, if it's the AT, I would say just go for it. There's always, if you get out there and you figure out that you don't like it and it's something you don't want to do, it's so easy to quit. You can get to a road every day. There's tons of people out there to help you and help you with your gear if you're not sure about something. But yeah, just do it, because you're gonna more than likely be super glad that you did.
Okay. And is there a reason to be fearful on the trail? Did you ever have to use your self-defense skills out on the AT?
Because I don't remember them. No, I only had one bad experience. Yeah, I think only one in 2018. Cobra and it was just us after about New York. And we were in New Jersey, and he was ahead of me. And we were in kind of like a neighborhood area, or like near a neighborhood. And some guys came by on 4-wheelers and like started messing with me and stuff. Like one tried to push me over and like threw something at my head. It was just a weird experience. So, but Cobra was right ahead of me, so I called him. Oh, a family came down the trail and they ended up like taking off. So I called Cobra and I was like, like, I don't know what just happened, but they were just like trying to mess around. I think they were drunk, but yeah, it was scary because I was by myself, and like if that family hadn't come, I would have been like, I don't know. But I didn't use my self-defense skills, that's for sure. I just like tried to like get away, but I don't think that's a very common experience at all. Most of the time, like that family walked up, like someone's gonna be in close proximity, especially if you're going northbound. Like there's always gonna be someone coming by if you feel like you're in like an unsafe situation.
Right. And I think that kind of, your particular story kind of demonstrates that, people on the trail are very much supportive of one another and willing to do just about anything for another hiker that they don't even know. You give them food, give them aspirin, give them, the shirt off their back to help them. And the people that were messing with you were not hikers.
No. Yeah, most like it's like town people, honestly, that I would feel like most unsafe around. But even in like trail towns, like I never had a bad experience with anyone. But yeah, like you said, that what they weren't hikers. I've never had a bad experience with a through hiker for sure.
Right. Now, what were some of your favorite memories of the AT in 2018? Can you maybe give us a top 5 list of your top 5 memories from that trip?
All right. Well, my first favorite memory would probably be the Smokies. Because it's so different from anything that you hike through so far on the trail. So I love the Smoky, and I feel like I finally got my trail legs in the Smokies, so it wasn't as hard. So just going through the Smokies was definitely a good memory. We went into Gatlinburg, which if you're going to do the AT, I think you should go into Gatlinburg because I love Gatlinburg. There's so much to do there. So yeah, going into Gatlinburg was a great memory because we were all like with our trail family and like went in and had breakfast and everything. So another one I'd say is probably Mcafee's Knob, which is also a generic answer, but it is a really, really good view. Like, and my whole trail family was there, and we got there for sunset, so we hung out up there for sunset, and well, the 3 of us girls got some really good naked pictures up there for the sunset, and then we ended up hiking back up for sunrise the next morning, so that whole experience was like a really good one. And then the next day was town day because we went into Daleville and zeroed and played in the swimming pool that whole time. So let's see, another good one.
I think you've named 3, so we need 2 more.
Okay, 2 more. I definitely gotta pick one up north. Let me think. Probably, so I turned 20. What did I turn? I think I turned 22 or 23 on the trail. When we were up in Maine, we were near, what is that town? Right before you go into the 100-mile wilderness, but it was my birthday, and we ended up meeting up with our old trail family member, Bunny, and we hadn't seen him in a while, so he hung out with us, and we got a ride down to this bar, and we had like a really good night for my birthday, and went out and drank. I didn't drink much on the trail, but like it was my birthday, so so we went out to the bar and got a lot of food, and we had like a really good night. And the last one, I'll probably have to say Katahdin because it was the end, and it was a really good day. We had a beautiful, clear day. It was so lucky because we didn't summit until October 5th, so we were kind of late. And we ended up seeing 2 of our friends that we had. Well, nope, summited the same day as us accidentally because she was with like a whole different crew by then. But we saw our friends One Foot and Bear Claw on the same day. They had been hanging out in town waiting for like a really good day to summit. So it was like a little reunion on our last day. It was really cool. We hadn't seen One Foot since like Pennsylvania, and we saw him, I think he was coming down Katahdin while we were going up, and it was just like, oh my God, it was such a good moment.
I have to know the story behind One Foot's name. I'm envisioning a guy hopping along for 2,200 miles. That can't be right.
My mom can never remember his name. She thinks his name's like One Toe. But he just got his name because he would say 1 foot in front of the other. So he does have 2 feet.
Okay, that's good. That's good. Yeah. So you started you say March?
Yeah, March 9th.
March 9th, and you finished October 5th.
Yep.
So that's 7 months in a week.
7 months, yeah. Okay.
And what was your average mileage?
Oh man.
What was your average and what was your high day, your high mileage day?
Okay, I'll say this. We took, I think, 40 zeros. So I am definitely like, I will encourage people to take as many zeros as they can. And my highest mileage day was probably like a 26 or 27 in like Virginia. I didn't do many high mileage days, like none of us did. We really like chilling, like we would do like 15s or less. And we actually when we got to Damascus, we started doing the math. We're like, how much, like, when do we have to get to Katahdin by the time it closes? So we did the math completely wrong, and we thought we had to do 18 a day every day, and we were like, oh my god, we gotta like pick up the pace. So we started like stressing, and then we told our friend Taco about it, and she was like, I think you guys did the math wrong. And we redid it, and it was like 12 or something. And we were like, okay, so we're doing like 12s from now on. Whatever the least we have to do.
Nice. Now, when you finished, well, take us through that summit of Katahdin. How did you feel? What were some of the emotions going through you?
It was different than what I expected, because first of all, there's a lot of people there, which you know, I'm not fond of. So it's kind of like a weird moment for me. Like, I feel like I felt more emotional when we came down to the bottom, and we were like, and it was just like Cobra and I were getting ready to go back to Millinocket and everything. When we were up there, I didn't really feel like, I feel like because there were so many people, I couldn't really like feel my like actual feelings. So but definitely when we got down to the bottom, I was like, what do I do now? I don't even know. Like, and Cobra and I hadn't like talked about anything. We weren't like, because we weren't even like a real like boyfriend and girlfriend. So I was like, are we ever gonna see each other again? Like, I dropped him off at the airport, and it was the saddest thing ever. We both like cried so much because we didn't even think we were gonna be together. So yeah, a lot of feelings.
So I hesitate to ask this, but I'm going to ask because I know my listeners probably have this question in their minds. You left for the trip with an unsupportive boyfriend. You met Cobra on the trail. Yeah. You cried at the airport. Now you're with Cobra. Yes. How did that all transpire?
Oh yeah, the unsupportive boyfriend did not last out of Georgia.
Oh, so he was gone before you even finished the trip, before you finished Georgia.
Yeah. It started like after I left, he honestly wasn't as bad. I mean, we talked on the phone a little bit, and then I could just tell, I'm like, this is definitely not gonna work. So yeah, it didn't. I think that lasted until Hiawassee. So yeah.
Well, one of the things I like to say on the podcast, especially when I talk to people who have been on a long trail with a significant other, is that there is no hiding on the trail. You guys are out there 24/7. There's no shame, no modesty. And sometimes you're in very stressful situations. And so being in those stressful situations for that duration, if you survive a long trail with a significant other, then you guys are like a forever couple. So
that's what I think. Yeah. Yeah, I'm like, if we can make it through that, I don't know what we can.
Exactly. All right. Hey, we're going to take a quick break. When we get back, we're going to find out what you did in 2019 and 2020. And then we're going to talk about the AT again, but this time from a very different perspective. So stay tuned for that. We'll be right back. And welcome back. We're talking to Mountain Cat. We just covered her 2018 Appalachian Trail hike northbound, which took 7 months and a week with, I think she said 40 0 days. 40 zeros. Okay.
Yeah, high 30s, 40.
And let's talk about what came after the AT in 2018. What did you do the next couple of years?
Let's see. I went back to work, made some money. That was the number one. And then.
And when you say that, I want to pause just for a second, because a lot of the people I talk to, they make money to go hiking. They are saving up for the next long trail. Yep. As soon as they hit that, that monetary amount that they think they need, then
they're done.
Right. Is that similar with you?
Well, not that time, because I honestly, when we got to Katahdin, like I was so tired, like my body was done, and because we had talked about, we were like, Cobra and I were like, oh, we'll do like PCT someday. And we had told our trail family that. And when we saw Nope up on Katahdin, she was like, are you guys going to do PCT still? We were like, no, absolutely not. I'm done. So when we got home, I was like, I thought I was done. So I went back to work, and then it only took, well, okay, so Cobra moved up with me, obviously, from Florida. So he moved in with me. We went back to work, and then it took until we got home October. It took until December, I'd say, until we were like, okay, where are we going to go next? So
Nice. So Cobra he's no longer a Florida boy. He's a Pennsylvania boy.
He's no longer a Florida boy, thank God.
and what was, you said that that's funny at the top of Katahdin, you're like, nope, I'm done. No
Yeah,
way.
no.
I'm not doing it. So what is tougher? Was the physical aspect tougher of doing the AT or the mental aspect? What do you think?
I would say overall it would be mental, but once I got to Maine, I would say it was more physical, because it's just so hard at the end, like to end with the hardest sections and like the whites in Maine. My body felt destroyed. Like I remember climbing Katahdin wasn't that bad because you're like so excited and like it's the end. But the days like leading up to Katahdin, I was just exhausted all the time. So I'd say towards the end it was more physical, but overall it was mental.
Yeah, I have a theory on that. I have a theory that when your body knows that it's almost over, that's when things start breaking down.
It starts shutting down.
That's right.
Literally, yeah.
Okay, back to 2019.
Okay, yeah.
20.
So yeah, we decided, we were like, oh, we definitely want to do at least something small while we're still working. So we did the Ocean to Lake Trail down in Florida, which like is an off trail off the Florida Trail. I think it's 63 or something, 60 miles, I think. But it was an amazing trail. Like I did not have high hopes for it, honestly, because I'm not like, I was just like hiking in Florida, like how's this gonna be? But it was amazing. Like it was a really good trail.
Sounds like this was Cobra's doing. Being
Yeah.
a Florida boy. So
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Well, his family lives in Fort Lauderdale, so he was like, my dad can like drive us right up to the lake to start, and we were like, I was like, yeah, okay, like I'll try it. And we ended up doing it, and it was like we saw so much wildlife, like more wildlife than I've seen probably on both AT trips. Like we saw otters and like wild boars and deer. We saw baby raccoons, and I was like, we're like close. We're in South Florida. Like I just wouldn't expect that. Alligators. That was my first alligator I ever saw. I was like, this state is wild.
Yeah, a lot of crazy things in Florida.
Yeah, there is.
Now, it's Ocean to Lake Trail. Which lake is it?
Lake Okeechobee.
Okay, that's what I thought.
Yeah.
And it goes to the Atlantic Ocean, not the Gulf.
Yes, right.
Got it. Okay.
The Atlantic, yeah.
All right.
It was really good. We did the lake to ocean, and we'd like to do it again the other way now, but it was really good. It was cool ending at the ocean, because even though we did it in February, beginning of February, it was hot. So ending, but the ocean was cold. So ending at the ocean was really cool. We dove in at the end, and so that was a good ending.
Now, I know that people on the PCT starting out, they worry about rattlesnakes. People in maybe the CDT in Montana, they're worrying about grizzlies and moose. Were you worried at all about alligators when you were camping at night?
I was. And we not really camping, but there's our second day, I think it's called Corbett, is where the trail goes through. We had to do, well, that whole day was like knee-deep water hiking because it was pouring all day, and we, I don't know why, because we were idiots. We're like, let's do 18 miles today in the pouring rain and like knee-deep water. And we were so out of shape. I don't know why we did that. So but we walked through we had to walk through this pond, and you could see the other side of it, but you could hear alligators doing their little chirp thing on either side of us, and I was like, oh, this is so scary. I did not like that at all. But Cobra was like, it's fine. They're like bears. Like, they don't want to like come bother you. So we didn't have any close encounters.
I'm not sure that Cobra's right about that, actually.
I don't know either. But I trusted him.
If he's got some kind of secret inside, Florida insider information, okay. But
Well, they're all gator whisperers, so.
Holy smokes! Especially in the water. I mean, you were at a severe disadvantage. If you
Yeah, exactly. Like, I can barely walk through it, and I was like, this is terrifying. But yeah, we didn't have any close encounters, so.
Now, I've heard a theory about if you encounter a gator on land and he comes after you, you run in a zigzag fashion because their short legs can't make those turns. I don't know if that's true or not, but
I'm not gonna test it.
All right, so you guys successfully made it out. Your trail name didn't change from Mountain Cat to One Foot.
No.
Okay.
Yep. So we did. We finished that. Came home. So that was February. So then we I don't know when it was that we decided to do the AT. Oh, I know. We thought we were gonna do the PCT, even though we said we weren't anymore. We're like, okay, we'll do the PCT southbound because Cobra is kind of like unsociable too. We were like, the southbound thing is gonna be cool, like less crowds and like a whole different experience. So we were planning on leaving like July 4th to go southbound. And we went here in Pennsylvania. We went to the AT just for like a little day hike to a place called, I forget what it's called actually, but there's a really good view up there. So we hiked up there in December. It was freezing. And Cobra just started this, he's like started jokingly. He's like, hey, what if we did the AT again? And I was like, haha, yeah, funny. And he's like, well, we really could. Like, what if we did it like through the winter and then we could bring Sawyer? And like when he said that, I was like, oh, because that's the biggest thing for me. Like when we go hiking and stuff, like leaving my dog behind, because I couldn't bring him on the PC. Well, I probably could, but I wouldn't bring him on the PCT because he gets so hot easily and it'd be so hard for like me to get him off trail if something would happen. So Cobra said that and I was like, wow, that's a good idea. So after that, like we stopped joking about it and we were like, let's just do it. We'll just do the AT again. And we told our friends and our trail family and they were like, y'all are nuts. But yeah, we so that was December and I'm glad I had almost bought our tickets to up to Washington, but I hadn't yet. So we just were like, yeah, let's do the AT again. And we had talked about just doing that that international from the Canadian border down to Katahdin. But we weren't sure if we wanted to or not, if the gut hook map wasn't out yet, because I heard it was not well marked at all. And but I reached out to them and they sent me like within a few days he sent me like the map and I got to like be one of the first ones to use it. So that was really cool. So yeah, we decided to do the AT again. And I told my family when I told my family, I'm like, especially my grandpa, I was like, guess what? He's like, what? I'm like, we're not going to do the PCT anymore. He's like, oh, why not? I'm like, because we're going to do the AT again. He's like, why? I'm like, I don't know, honestly. So yeah, and then
so you did do the international AT from the Canadian border to Katahdin.
Yeah, it ends I think they used to connect and then I guess they can't come to an agreement anymore. It ends just outside of Baxter on Katahdin Loop Road. So we actually had to get there's like an old trail that you can take. I don't know if it's even legal or not, but we ended up getting a shuttle from Katahdin Loop Road at the end into Millinocket, and then we zeroed before we started at Katahdin the next day.
Okay.
Yeah.
Very good. And before we get on to that that southbound AT hike, I want to go back to a comment you made that you just made in passing about the fact that Cobra is also unsociable.
Yeah.
And so Mountain Cat, you know what we're dealing with here? We're dealing with the most uncommon of love stories here.
Yeah.
You've got two very unsociable people from one from Pennsylvania, one from Florida, decide to do the AT independently of each other. They show up and meet each other on this 2,200-mile trail and fall in love. I mean, this is like a movie.
Well, to be fair, Cobra used to be sociable, and I think I'm a bad influence on him. He because he is like a really friendly person, but when we're together, I feel like he gets the vibes off of me of the no people thing. So
Okay, fair point.
Yeah.
Fair point. Okay. So tell me how your gear was different for this winter southbound hike of the AT as opposed to your 2018 northbound hike.
Yeah. So, well, first off, I wish I would have had some of this gear on my northbound hike because, March and on the AT is cold. Like, I know, I had a 20-degree bag when I started in 2018, and it was not enough for me because I'm like a cold sleeper. So there were so many nights that I just laid there and waited for morning to come. And if I would have had that 0 degree, I would have been set. But so if I could go back in time, I would have done that differently. But yeah, my gear was, let's see. Well, we switched out our duplex for the Big Agnes Tiger Wall because it has poles and everything, so it's sturdier with the snow and everything. And it was really warm actually too with the 3 of us in there. The only thing is, if I could do it again, I would get a 3-person because my dog's 100 pounds and then 2 people. It was a very tight squeeze in there.
Yeah, Bernese Mountain Dog. That's not a small
Yeah.
dog.
No, yeah. So he probably actually secretly hated that tent. We would shove him down in the foot box of it, and he'd be curled up in a tiny ball. But so yeah, we had that tent, and it worked really well through the snow. It never collapsed on us or anything. Yeah, my 0 degree, that was well, for a while I actually carried 2 sleeping bags because especially through the Smokies, I was afraid of it dropping really low with the temps. So for a while I had a sleeping bag liner, my 0 degree, and a 40-degree synthetic bag that I would put over top of my down bag to keep the condensation off of it. Because if I had a wet bag in those temps, I would have been shit out of luck. So my bag was so heavy. I had those 2 sleeping bags, my liner. Then I would carry a quilt for Sawyer because it was really cold. He's a Bernese Mountain Dog, but I would still like wrap him up in a sleeping bag at night.
Wait a second. Who is this Sawyer? I thought we were hiking.
Oh, Poodle Bear.
Poodle Bear.
Yeah. Yeah. So, and then I got the Thermarest X Therm sleeping pad, which is their warm one, and I think it helped a lot. Like there was maybe one night on the whole winter SOBO that I was cold. I was pretty proud of that. I couldn't believe that. Yeah.
That's impressive.
Yeah. So I think it really helped too, the three of us in there, crammed in there, like with the body heat. So.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep. That's helpful. What was the start date of your hike?
We started July 18th at the Canadian border, and then we got to Katahdin July 29th.
Okay. And then what was the end date? When did you arrive at Springer?
We ended March 10th, I think. Yeah. Yeah, the 10th, because that was the same day I started the trail in 2018. So it was a really weird thing.
So July to March, just in my mind here, that's like another 7-month hike, right? A little
I
longer
think it
than
was
7?
closer to 8. Yeah.
Closer to 8. Okay.
Yeah.
How many zeros this time?
I went back and counted, and I thought for sure it would be more, but it was around the same. About I think it was maybe 43 or 44 zeros.
And are those, just for our listeners who maybe haven't done the AT, a zero hike is 0 mileage. And for you, were those typically on the trail or were those town days?
Oh, no, never. They were always town days. We were very
Okay.
serious about our town days.
And what goes on in town?
Mostly just laying around. eating. We love Chinese food. We would always get Chinese food delivered, but we get aggressively lazy when we're in town. Like don't leave the hotel, DoorDash, delivery. And I love taking baths when I get to town. I love just like, especially on our winter through hike, because when we're hiking or something, I'll be like, I'm never going to be warm again. So like laying in a hot bath is like the best thing ever.
You might have just mentioned the title to the episode, Aggressively Lazy.
Aggressively lazy.
That is awesome. That's awesome. Okay. And what was it like? Was it a high snow year, or the snow wasn't that bad? When did the snow start? At what part of the trail were you when the snow started? And were you already south of that?
It started getting really cold around southern PA. So that was around end of November. And then December, around Christmas time, we were near Parisburg, Virginia. And my mom and my grandma came down to spend Christmas and New Year's with us. So we were trying to do some slack packing. But the thing, like that's when it started snowing, was around Christmas. So we couldn't get to these like weird trailheads because they're dirt roads and like a sheet of ice. So I had my grandma, I felt so bad. I had my grandma on a mission, like to come pick us up near Woods Hole Hostel. And I had no idea that the road was a disaster. But I told her, I was like, if it's a sheet of ice, just wait at the bottom. So we got there and we're like, okay, they're not here. They must be down at the bottom. We started hiking down and there's this group of men like trying to help her back down from this like disastrous driveway. I was like, I told you to wait at the bottom. But I always have her on missions trying to pick us up slack packing. So she wasn't too traumatized. So yeah. What were you gonna say?
Go ahead and finish your thought.
So yeah, we hit the snow around Christmas, and after Christmas, it pretty much just snowed. I mean, not nonstop, but my phone would just beep every day with a winter storm warning, and it would be snow, snow, snow. And I never thought about how hard it would be with the rhododendrons. That's what started out being hard. Because when you get a heavy snow, the rhododendrons will just fall over the trail and you have to crawl on your knees under them. Like we would slow down to like half a mile an hour trying to crawl through rhododendrons with like a full pack on our back. And I was like, this is ridiculous. But our worst snow day was in Tennessee. And like, if we weren't in Tennessee, I definitely would have quit. Like it was, our friend dropped us off from slack packing and my phone went off with another winter storm warning, and I was like, whatever. I didn't even listen to them anymore because they were every day, so I didn't even think about it. And we started out, it was snowing as usual, and we got to this shelter and we only had 12 miles to go to get to the next road where Cobra's uncle was going to pick us up and like take us back to his house and everything. We were like, okay, well, we'll just go. We'll meet him up with him tomorrow. We'll wake up early. And we go to bed and it's snowing. And then we thought it stopped because we didn't hear it hitting the tent anymore. And so in the morning, we're like getting ready in the tent and I unzipped it and I was like, oh no, it snowed all night, nonstop. I couldn't even see where we came into camp. There was drifts like knee deep. So we packed up and started out. It was still snow. It snowed for like 36 hours straight. The drifts were up to like my belly button sometimes. It was the worst day of my life. There was just no positive in it at all. Like I was just like crying, snot coming out of my nose. I was like, this is the worst day of my life. Like I fell and got a huge cut on my butt. Like it was the worst day. And we only made it, we hiked all day nonstop with no breaks because it was too cold, and we made it 7 miles. It was like the most demoralizing thing ever.
Ouch. Ouch.
Yeah.
That sounds brutal.
That was the worst day.
In snow that high, are you even able to post hole, or are you just pushing the snow with you're just trudging through it?
I would just lean up against it and try to like push a tunnel through it. And the sad thing is these snowshoes, okay, because we're like, we'll probably need snowshoes. We thought we would need them through the Smokies, but we were like bouncing them ahead if we didn't need them. So before this, at like Roan Mountain and everything, we thought we were going to need them, so my mom sent them down and we carried them, and the sun comes out and everything melts, and I'm like, of course. So we bounced them ahead, and then this happens, which I don't think they would have helped anyway, honestly, because it was like waist deep, but I was like, of course, they're in town. That's how it always works.
So you bounce the snowshoes ahead, and
Yep.
Snowmageddon hits.
Yep.
Yes. Yeah, we had I've had a couple of guests who were on the same hike. They were different episodes, but they're on the same hike. 127, who got his name because he slipped and he fell and got his leg stuck between two logs on a bridge, and he was there for 15-20 minutes. And he would tell the story, and people would say, oh, like the guy who got his arm pinned in a boulder that had to cut it off, right?
Yeah.
Like 127. So that was his trail name, 127. And then his friend that he met on the trail, Bert, who did some great fundraising in Colorado, but she talked about her southbound trip, and she would see in the log books, this guy 127 would write these funny things in the log books, and she was like chasing him for 3 months, and she finally caught him, I think, in Georgia.
Oh my God, that's cool.
But they talked about, they ended up in the winter. They got a late start, and they finished in the winter, and they talked about the rhododendrons and just how miserable it was having to crawl and do all that stuff. So that's nuts.
And then it just falls down your back, like in your jacket too. So then your back's soaking wet and cold. It just adds to the misery.
Right. Hey, was there anybody else on the trail with you guys? I have to imagine it was that, those dates that you gave, those are pretty atypical dates. And so a lot of people probably weren't on the trail with you.
No, I didn't think, there were days that I was really surprised that we didn't even see like a day hiker, because I didn't think that was like heard of for the AT, like it's a popular trail. But we went, I think one time we went 3 or 4 days without seeing a single other person, and it was awesome because like we wanted a totally different hike from what we had in 2018, and we definitely got it because we didn't have a trail family. Like our trail family was me and him and our dog. Like we didn't have a trail family. We didn't have, like, we had shelters to ourselves for months because there's just no one there, so we could set the tent up in the shelter. Like you just didn't even think twice about like someone walking up to you like when you're peeing or anything, because you just didn't see anyone for days. So it was really cool.
Man, what a dream trip for a couple of antisocial people.
Yeah, for real.
Hey, and also, before I forget, because I don't think we've had many of these moments on the podcast, take us to your 2018 northbound hike of the AT, and one of maybe the most uncomfortable or unusual or embarrassing shelter stories. I have to imagine when you cram a bunch of strangers into a shelter and they're there for 8, 10, 12 hours sleeping and whatever else is going on, there had to be some moments.
Okay, well, wait, it's not my story, but it's really funny.
Okay, that's okay.
Okay, this is my friend's story, and I'm not going to tell her name because I don't know if she'll want me to or not, but she was in the shelter before Hot Springs, and I was actually there that night, but we weren't really friends yet, so I was camping, and she was in the shelter, and it snowed that night, and it was so cold. So she was in the shelter, and she said like her stomach started to hurt, and she was like rolling around trying to get comfortable and like try to go to sleep, and she's like, I don't want to go dig a hole and poop, it's snowing, like I'm just not gonna do that. So she said she like laid on her stomach to try to feel better, and there was a bunch of people crammed. It was like a small shelter, and she said this older man was like had his head at her feet, and so they were opposite. And she said she started to drift off to sleep and like let out this huge fart. Okay, and the guy rolls over and goes, oh. And that story cracks me up every time I make her tell it, like so often. And she's like, I was like, that is the best story I've ever heard.
Hopefully that story didn't lead to her trail name.
No, it didn't.
Okay, that's
she
good.
already had one, luckily.
That's good. Yeah, solid. Very good. But as you talk about that story, that brings up another interesting point. You guys are going southbound during the winter and talking
Okay.
about digging holes
Yeah.
in frozen ground. I mean, how does that work?
It's well, first of all, like also there's snow, so we would try to kick as much snow as we could off. And then you have like a trap, like we honestly needed like a pick and a shovel. But you just like do the best you can. Like honestly, it hurts your hand trying to like use that little Deuce of Spades to dig in like it's already hard in the summer with all the rocks and the roots and stuff, but yeah, it's super hard in the winter.
Okay. Well, the conversation has devolved a little bit here towards the end, but some good laughs for sure.
Yeah.
So you've done some pretty long stints on the AT. Is there any desire whatsoever to expand your horizons and do the PCT and the CDT and become a triple crowner?
I would have said yes a few years ago, but they don't people get mad at me when I say this, but they don't have as much like because I just love the AT so much. I would probably do the AT again, honestly. And there's a few like lesser traveled trails that I'd love to do. Like I'd love to do the mid-state here in PA, which is like 300 some miles. Now that I know how good Florida is, I'd actually like to do the Florida Trail someday, and like it's another one I'd like to do. That Mountains to Sea Trail. I think that's North Carolina. I think it's like 1,000 miles. So like those smaller things just seem like they have more like attraction to me now. I still probably would like to do the PCT someday, but I don't know. I haven't thought about the CDT at all.
Yeah, we've had a few people on the podcast who have kind of looked down their noses at the AT. We've had a few people
Man.
come on who have said the AT is the best
Yeah.
of the long trail. So there's a lot of opinion out there, which is
Yeah.
good. But I think everybody agrees that the CDT is just an absolute crapshoot. So
Yeah, I mean,
I've
like
heard a lot of stories.
I love town days, and like it's just there's not that many towns. So that's why I like the AT so much. I can be in town like every 3 days.
Right. So Mountain Cat, you know where we are?
Where?
We're at that part of the episode where I turn to you and ask you for your pro tip insight of the week. What little
Okay.
piece of wisdom, tip, trick can you share with our listeners to make their next outdoor experience even better?
Well, this I kind of stole from someone on trail in 2018 because we ran into this guy in Vermont on our northbound, and I was in such a bad mood that day, and he like totally turned my day around because he was just ridiculous. He told like 10 jokes like randomly, and then before he left he was like, hey, don't forget smiles, not miles. So that's my pro tip is like not everyone, but a lot of people try to like be like, oh, how many miles are you doing, and like are you doing 20s and stuff. And I think my trail family and I got along so well because we're not about that. We're not trying to like make miles. The least miles that we're doing, the better. So I'd say like, especially if you're just starting out, like don't try to like push yourself and injure yourself. Like just have fun and do small miles. Like there's no shame in like doing an 8-mile day to start out, or anywhere. I've done plenty of it. I did a 3-mile day in Georgia this time, ending up because we had so much time. We're like, we're gonna do 3 miles today. So yeah,
Nice.
that's my tip.
All right. Smiles, not miles. And I like that because you're doing something that's hard, right? You are hiking 2,200 miles. And if you're miserable while you're doing it, it's even harder.
Yeah, what's the point?
But if you smile, if you enjoy the moments you can, and you have a lot of smiles out there, it makes it easier.
Yeah.
It's all about your frame of mind.
Yeah, definitely.
All right. Outstanding pro tip. Thank you.
Thanks.
So there you have it. That's it. Season 2, episode 19 is in the books. I hope our listeners enjoyed our time with Mountain Cat. I want to thank her for joining us this week. Mountain Cat, how can our listeners keep up with you on social media, and where can they find updates on your latest adventures?
Yeah, so I'm mostly on Instagram. It's Mountain Kitter, Kitter. And then I just started my own blog just because I love writing, and I want to do some writing about thru hiking and like winter, because it was hard to find a lot of information about like some of the winter gear and like people doing like winter southbound. So I made my own website. It's AppalachianAdoration.com.
Appalachian Adoration.
Because I
Awesome.
love AT.
That's fantastic.
Yeah.
All right. Remember to check out the pod on social media as well. We are on Facebook, YouTube, Instagram, and Twitter. And if you have comments or clips you want to share, you can send it to me at johnfreakinmuir@gmail.com. Mountain Cat, I'm also looking to you to share your recommendation for a book, a movie, a documentary, or any kind of adventure media that will help our listeners stay connected to the outdoor adventures. We're calling this our adventure media recommendation. What do you have for us?
Yeah, I was ready for this. I'm so excited because I'm a huge book nerd. Like, I have a huge stack of books beside me, and I picked this one. It's called The Sun is a Compass by Caroline Van Hemert. And I just finished it, but her and her husband did a 4,000-mile not even a hike, because they like pack rafted and everything through Alaska, and it's like a really good book, and it's something that I would like to think about too, is not just doing a hike, but doing like a make your own adventure kind of thing, like motorcycle, pack raft, canoe, something like that. So it's a really good book. I'd recommend it.
Very good. Very good.
Yeah.
And it's called The Sun is a Compass?
Yep.
And the author one more time?
Caroline Van Hemert, Hemert.
Okay, there you have it. And I'm going to suggest to you, as you ponder whether or not you want to do the PCT, read Journeys North by Barney Scout Man.
Barney, that's on my list.
Yes, so good. Such a good book.
Okay, I gotta get it.
And you get a really good sense of what the PCT is all about. So he does a fantastic job.
Sweet. Yeah, I gotta read that. I've got a huge list.
Very good. And before we wrap things up, I'm starting a new segment called What Have I Not Asked You That You're Dying to Tell Me About? I want to make sure I don't miss anything here. So what did I miss?
I'm so excited for this part because I just got a DR200 yesterday, and that's a dual sport motorcycle. So that's why I said motorcycle. But because I made this list while we were on the trail of things that I want to do besides hiking, and I was like, I want to learn how to ride a motorcycle. So Cobra yesterday went and bought this DR200, and it's just this little dual sport, and it's so fun. I've already rode it. I rode it for like 2 hours yesterday, and then I rode it for 2 hours today before we started this. So that's what I've been dying to talk about.
Nice. Is it a street bike or a dirt bike?
It's a street and trail bike.
Okay.
Yeah. So mostly I'm not trying to like do any street riding, honestly. It's mostly, we have tons of state forest roads and like camping up here. So I want to do some like state forest trails and roads and try to stay off the pavement.
Yeah. You have to get some saddlebags for your bike and pack up your gear and go camping.
I know, that's what I want to do. I want to start doing some two-wheel camping.
And you know what? I've got this great image of Poodle Bear strapped to the back with his goggles on.
Yeah, his doggles.
Doggles. There you go. Doggles. Very good. All right. Well, congratulations on that, and be safe.
Thank you. I will.
That's a wrap from the John Freakin' Muir studio. Any shout outs to friends and family, Mountain Cat?
Yeah. Obviously shout out to Cobra. He did the whole SOBO with me. We did most of our NOBO together. I probably would have quit if he didn't keep me sane. And the other way around too. We always had opposite bad days, so that was good. And shout out to my family, super supportive, especially my mom and my grandma. They're my big trail supporters. And shout out to my trail family, because I love you forever. And you guys made my whole journey, and we're best friends forever.
Nice.
Yeah.
Long-lasting relationships.
Yeah, for sure.
Are formed on the trail. And you know what? I just realized, I said earlier about, being out there 24/7 with a significant other. You were out there 24/7 on a southbound winter hike of the AT. And if you guys could do that, you could do anything.
Yeah, and surprisingly, it was easier being with each other than I thought it would be.
All right. Thank you for tuning in. Always remember, the trail is the trail. It doesn't care if you want to go downhill. It doesn't care if it's almost dark and you're looking for a campsite. It doesn't even care if you open your tent and there are snow drifts up to your belly button and all you've got is a Deuce of Spades.
Nope,
The trail is the trail. Embrace the suck.